Ever since Kevin Durant blew that 3-1 series lead to the Golden State Warriors and then joined them in the offseason, he's gotten a lot of crap. Now, some of it has been justified, but some of it hasn't been. For starters, I believe his move to Golden State was incredibly weak. Personally, I wanted to see him go to Boston because he would have been the perfect star to lead that talented team against a LeBron James-led Cavaliers squad. I think he could have beaten LeBron, and if he would have beaten LeBron in the Eastern Conference, he would have been able to say that he was the best player in the world, definitively, without question. And that team was good enough to do it, but it also wasn't good enough to the point where people would say, oh, you stacked the deck. Oh, your team's way too OP, right? It was that perfect balance where he should have gone to Boston because he would have had the narrative on his side and he legitimately would have had a good chance of beating LeBron James and subsequently the Warriors in the finals because let's not forget that 2016 Celtics team, that 2015 Celtics team, they were a thorn in the side to that Golden State Warriors franchise. In fact, if my memory is correct, they were one of the only teams to beat the Warriors in their 73-9 season. So that's where I wanted him to go. Now, if we look at the Warriors' move, it was weak. But if we evaluate his play, incredible. He did everything he had to do in Golden State. He was the best player on that team. Now, of course, Steph was 1B, and really, there's no need to rank them because Kevin Durant at least held up his end of the bargain, right? 35 points per game in the finals on near 60% shooting. Those are video game numbers, and he earned every single bucket. He was the best player on that team. Remember that 50-point game versus the Clippers in 2018, the last year he was there? Or rather 2019, the last year he was there? Incredible performance. That was one of the best performances I've ever seen from a player ever. So dominant. So otherworldly. He did everything he had to do in Golden State. And if not for the Achilles injury, we'd probably be talking about him as a 3-time Finals MVP and 3-time champion. Now, of course, after that Achilles injury, after Golden State then subsequently went on to lose that Finals because of injuries to him and Clay and not Boogie. I thought Boogie, but my memory is false on that. They lost that Finals. He decided to jump ship to Brooklyn. Now, I thought this was a great move. I thought it was a fantastic decision. You're going to go be the man on your own team. You're going to go pair up with Kyrie Irving. You're going to essentially try to replicate the LeBron-Kyrie pairing, only in a slightly different way because Kevin Durant's a more polished perimeter scorer. And those two players going off one another are going to be very difficult to guard. I think it was a great decision. Now, of course, the first year, Kevin Durant didn't play because of the injury to his Achilles. But overall, in his Brooklyn Nets tenure, I think he did everything he had to do. He played incredible. He elevated his game from Golden State. He was more efficient. He was a better scorer, especially on the perimeter. And he really showed that he was capable of carrying a team. We all remember the Milwaukee Bucks series. We remember how dominant he was. He had the best playoff game by box score in NBA history. That's how good he was in Brooklyn. And if not for injuries to James Harden and Kyrie Irving, that team probably would have won an NBA championship. If not, would have at least reached one. But of course they didn't. And so he demanded a trade after all of the fiascos around Kyrie Irving and the masks and a bunch of different stuff. He demanded a trade. And he went to Phoenix, which I thought was a great decision. I thought it was a great idea, right? Brooklyn was falling apart. There's no need to stay. They clearly are not prioritizing you. James Harden is left. The team is imploding around you. Why stay? There's no long-term future here. I didn't mind it at all. And going to Phoenix was a great fit because they had talent. They had gone to the finals. They had Booker. They had CP3. They had Ayton. They had a squad in Phoenix. And in their first playoff run together, they looked like a really good team. CP3 running the point, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant as the two wing options, Ayton manning the middle, hitting mid-range jumpers, boarding. It was a really good fit. They just didn't get enough time together, though, which was the main problem. They offloaded Ayton. They went after Bradley Beal. They let CP3 walk, and all of a sudden the team crumbles around them because they didn't know what they were doing. They went for 3 perimeter scoring players that are not primary creators. They offloaded Ayton for Nurkic when Nurkic was kind of the same player. Yes, he was better, quote unquote, but why would you offload him if you're not getting a significant improvement? Ayton would have been a much better player to have. But more importantly, losing CP3 was a big deal. He was the leader of that NBA Finals team. Of course, Devin Booker was the best player, but CP3 was the heart and soul of that franchise. He was the guy commanding the squad. Without him, it all fell apart. And so for him to want to leave Phoenix, I thought it was a great call too. I don't see any problem in that. The franchise clearly doesn't know what it's doing. It clearly doesn't want you to stay because you're getting flack now for being on a losing team when your team is quite literally crumbling around you again. Yeah, go find a different team. And now, of course, this offseason he's in Houston. But him being in Houston comes with a certain risk. And that risk is that if he were to underperform in Houston, he's going to deserve some flack. He's going to deserve some flack, not quite to the same degree as him going to Golden State, but it would be right underneath that. It would be a little bit less than that because this Houston team is really good. This Houston team is really talented. Fred VanVleet, champion guard, beat Kevin Durant in the finals technically. He was on that 2019 Raptors team, hit plenty of clutch shots. He's a really good lead guard. Then, of course, you have Sengun. Nikola Jokic, B-grade version, really talented, great touch, rebounds, passes, commands the game. He is a nightmare on the block. He's a nightmare player to guard, quite frankly. Then, of course, you have Jabari Smith Jr. Little underwhelming, but a talented four nonetheless. He can play the three, he can play the four, he can handle a bit, he can hit shots. He has a lot of potential, a lot of upside. And next to Kevin Durant, I think he's going to unlock more of that. You have Reed Shepherd coming off the bench, number 3 overall pick. He's looked good in Summer League, but of course, there are still concerns around his height. There are concerns around his ability to finish at the rim, concerns about him and his ability to hit shots. I think he's going to be fine. And until we see him play, we can at least assume that, well, there's talent there and there's potential there. He was the number 3 pick for a reason. Great backup guard. They did have Cam Whitmore. I'm pissed they traded him, but he would have been another talented player on the roster. They have Tari Eason. Very good player. And, of course, they have my favorite player of the bunch, which is Amen Thompson. Amen Thompson, who averaged 14 points per game, 8 rebounds, a couple assists. He's a bona fide stud, or at least he's going to be. He oozes potential. He's, quite frankly, the most athletic person I've seen since 2008-9 LeBron James. He's a freak of nature. He chases people down. He locks them down on the perimeter. He pounds that ball into the floor. He's going to have an offensive game next year. He's going to run in transition. He's going to run off pick and roll. He's going to board it. He's going to push it. And he's going to develop his jump shot. And even if he doesn't, he finishes through contact like no other. The hang time, the acrobatic nature of his game, he's incredible. Next to Kevin Durant, a man who's averaging 30 on 52% shooting, 6 to 8 boards, 4 assists, 5 assists. This team has everything it needs. This team has everything it needs to compete. They truly do. And so if he were to not get it done in Houston, if he were to not make a run as a Rocket, now, of course, if he got injured, this would be excusable. We would say, oh, damn, what if? Just like in Brooklyn, what if? Just like in Phoenix, if they wouldn't have screwed the roster up, what if? Just like in OKC, if James Harden didn't leave, or if Russ didn't get injured that one year, or if KD didn't get injured that year, what if? But assuming he stays healthy and this doesn't work, he's going to deserve all of the criticism in the world because he's been given the best opportunity he could possibly have at this point in his career. He has defense around him. He has creation around him. He has rebounding around him. He has athleticism around him. He has hunger and chemistry around him. He has the number 3 team, or rather the number 2 team in the West last year around him. Yes, they lost Jalen Green, but that's where Kevin Durant comes in. He's a better Jalen Green, a much better Jalen Green. Oh my God, a better Jalen Green. This team had everything it needed to compete last year outside of a consistent perimeter outside scorer. And now they have it in Kevin Durant. So if they don't do it, he's going to deserve that flack. And it's going to be a shame if they don't at least make a run because Kevin Durant was one of my favorite players in OKC. I've always appreciated and loved his game. His mentality towards basketball is second to none. He always wants to play. He always wants to compete. He always wants to train and get better. He loves it. He said personally that any day he's not working on his game, he feels like he's getting worse. I feel the same way. I relate to that in every aspect of my life. I love him for that. And so I want him to succeed. But if he doesn't, he's going to deserve the criticism. He's going to deserve flack for the first time since 2016-17. He's going to deserve real criticism. And I think, or rather I hope, that when it's all said and done with his career, we're looking at him as a 3-time champion. Because if he wins in Houston, like I said, if he won in Brooklyn, like I said, if he won in Phoenix, if Kevin Durant wins a title in Houston, all of the quote-unquote sins from the past will be erased. Everything will be forgiven. People will forget about Golden State. They will forget about the decision to hop ship after blowing a 3-1 series lead. They will forget. They will see him as the 3-time champion who is the Slim Reaper, the greatest scorer of a generation, the most talented 1-2-3 dribble player of all time. They will see him as that guy. They will forget about him abandoning the Thunder. He will forget about all of the transgressions of the past. All he needs is one title. All he needs is one run. And then he can hang it up. Of course, he won't want to because he's a gym rat. He loves the game. But he only needs one title. If he can get it, everything will be forgiven. Remember LeBron. He won back-to-back titles in Miami. But everything was truly forgiven when he won in Cleveland. When LeBron James captured his 3rd championship in Cleveland, after coming back from a 3-1 deficit, all of the sins of the past were forgiven. The failure versus San Antonio, the failure versus Boston in 2008 and then 2010, the failure versus Dallas in 2011, the decision to go to Miami in the first place, all was forgiven because he won an iconic championship for his hometown team. That's all Kevin Durant needs. And I hope he gets it done. And I hope he plays my Detroit Pistons because then I'll make some money, but I'll also see an incredibly entertaining series, and so will you. But with that, I ask you, do you think Kevin Durant will be forgiven if he wins a 3rd championship in Houston? Do you think he's going to get it done? Or do you think this is just another desperate attempt for him to capture some NBA hardware? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you in the next video. Much love, peace. This is New Da Vinci with the Art of Hoops. Have a great day.